Right, so I have now activated the low latency option in the YouTube studio thingy. Hopefully it's improved the latency a bit. So I'm gonna clap, let's see. Right, so I'm watching the playback here in my studio thingy. It's still pretty bad. Yeah, the latency is pretty bad, so let's see. I think it was a good like 40 minutes or something for that. Alright, let's see. So I guess tonight is going to be a more of a test run. Yeah, so I'm watching the playback in the YouTube video thing. So I just clapped. Yeah, that was good like 40 seconds ago I did that. So. Oh god, is the background music and my vocal level, is that kinda good or whatever? So I'm just pressing around in the visualizer here to see if the bitrate fucks up or something. Some random stuff. See what the strobes do. So I'm not sure I'm gonna, yeah, I mean, I might as well. This is an unlisted stream, so this is basically a private show for you guys, I guess. I don't really see the chat, but whatever. So stage, this is like the capture. I'm running capture as my visualizer, and basically. Oh crap, let's do highlights. Stop the movie. So on the sides here, we got some side lights. All those, my spots are vipers, my beams are sharpies, my washes are auras, and my LED bars are, I think, X bars or something, and atomic 3000 LEDs. But yeah, so we got 3 trusses. Oh shit. Yeah, that's bright. Let's do it like that. I'm not even sure you can see. Well, anyways, we got 3 trusses of lights, and they're basically just inverted, so you get that nice pattern. So when you blind people with, you can see that pattern you got there. And then I got a floor pack with vipers as well, 8. And then we don't got LED bars in the visualizer because of I'm broke and I can't afford the really maxed out universes on the highest capture level license. And then we got some atomic LEDs, so that's the back one and the lower floor package with the atomic LEDs. We got atomic LEDs as a side light as well, and then we got on each truss in the same pattern. So yeah, that's kind of it. It's very easy. This is kind of just from my clone files. So the new aura, are you referring to the XP? Is it XP? Yeah, it's XP, right? That's the one with the true one connector. Or do you mean the one with that the Martin's going to release soon? I'm not sure if that was like a April Fool's joke or if they're really going to release a new wash soon. I don't really see the... This is pretty bad placement for my laptop actually. I don't really see the chat that well. Let's see. So this stream is... oh, cool. So you got... cool, didn't know that. With the pixel mapping, so you can control each... is it each pixel or is it rings like the Claypacker ones? Oh, so it has been released. Okay, that's cool. So the latency is very bad still. Well, this is pretty good that actually we're not doing an official stream, because just a thing like I don't know where to put my laptop to see the chat well. I need to figure this stuff out first. So... oh, okay, cool. I will check that out later. But yeah, in my... so the way I look at it, I don't really want advanced fixtures as in my clone file. Because when showing up to a festival in freaking Indonesia or something, you need something that clones easily with simple fixtures. If you are touring with your own ground package, then sure, give me the GDC ones and give me the pixel mapping craziness of some fixture that's out there. But in terms of a busking show file, I tend to use fixtures that's usually available everywhere, and that's very easy in its function. And that's mainly Vipers and Aura and X-bars and what have you. So easy but competent fixtures in my clone file. That's my way of looking at it. But yeah, so the delay is still very bad on the stream. Yeah, I guess you can use the quantum wash in its regular mode. Like, as soon as you begin to work with instances in the fixture, you kind of need to build the show file a little bit differently. Yeah, I guess so. So the delay is not too bad for you guys, but from my part, when I need to find something to talk about or something, it's very weird to have this delay. I should probably stop viewing the live stream in the YouTube studio. That doesn't really help. Let's do this. Let's try to... Right. No, that's too much. Yeah, so as soon as you get into multiple instances, you kind of need to either map them up in the layout view or kind of sort them into different effects and stuff. So as a busking file, I kind of do that with my atomic LEDs. I've separated, so I have a macro that just pulls, when I've selected a group, it pulls the, so if I select all the atomics and I take one instance, it takes the first instance, and take two instances, it takes the... You can do that in the command line as well, but you know. But yeah, and I kind of clone them into my deco group for the actual aura effect in the atomic LED, and then the regular strobe part as well as in the JDC ones, I clone that into atomics part. So in my show file, the atomics are basically just a tube strobe or whatever fixture I have that actually strobes. And then all the deco or kind of eye candy effects all those fixtures have, I clone them into my deco group in my show file for some eye candy effects and stuff. So that's, but yeah, so in my clone file I don't have, that's pretty much the only multiple instance fixture I have. It's the atomic lead at the moment. Because you need to mind, like, you need to create layout views for each gig, basically. The atomic lead aura is actually decently bright. It's not meant to illuminate anything by all means, but it's definitely, if there's nothing else going on, I mean, the visualizer doesn't do a good job visualizing, obviously, but I mean, it's decently, it's there to give you an outline of how the rig looks or how it's placed. So, and it's kind of nice to do, like, you can even do some chases and stuff with the aura effect of the atomic. But as soon as you get into, like, you don't illuminate. When you see it in the eye of sight, you can see them, but it doesn't illuminate anything. You can probably see that because I have atomics in the side light truss as well, but it doesn't illuminate the stage in any way. So this is the point, like, when I'm done talking about the subject, the chat is so delayed that I don't get any inspiration for new stuff to talk about. So I think I need to figure out a way to make the chat a bit, or to actually solve the latency problem. There is another way. Let's see. The atomic LED is not as bright as an atomic, but it's bright enough. Strobe. Yeah, so the strobe part of the atomic LED, I mean, it's bright enough, honestly. Like, the visualizer doesn't do it justice, but I mean, it's bright enough for sure. But the thing is, it doesn't need to be as bright as a regular atomic. Like, when you have a lot of them in a rig, you don't notice the difference between the regular atomic and the atomic LED. The main problem I have with atomic LED is basically the way it's LED. So it does have actually it does have a simulation mode here in the. I always have it. It's stored in the old preset. It's a strobe behavior mode, xenon. So it's basically emulating how the regular atomic strobes. But it's not doing a great job at it. You can do, it's differently, it feels different. So cool, cloning. Yeah, so there's nothing special there. After I've done a partial show read, I basically create the layout views first, so I can select which things are going into which group. And then I go to I have a page here called Cloner. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but I have groups here, and I have a command line as well, so I can see what's going on. And I basically just store in the first line here, that's my groups that actually have the fixtures that's in my clone file. So it's the mother fixtures, and then the different group or line here is the group that's going to be cloned. So it's going to copy everything from this group to that group. And then at the third line here, I have a clone macro, and that basically clones this row. And then it's done, basically. Then it's just time to update the effects, and I have different macros for that. So I press this macro, and it press OK twice, and it has basically search for all effects that begins with spot, and then update to the new selection. And but then before you do update the effects, you need to actually create the selection order in the layout views and store them. In the first group here, for the beams example, I have the sim selection in the first regular one, then I have the straight selection in the second one. Yeah, so I actually used Stormy CC in like, yeah, it's the beginning of the last gig I did before all the Corona shutdown thing, and I guess they're decent. I mean, the Stormy CCs. The only thing I like about them is it's full RGBW. They're not bright at all, but they definitely in intimate venues that's not very large. They do the job. I mean, if you have more than like 8 of them, they're decent. Right, cool. So the difference between partial show read and cloning. Partial show read, basically, if you look at the patch, all my clone fixtures are fixture ID 10,000 and up. Partial show read, when you do that, you take the patch and 3D position data of all the fixtures in an empty show file and basically pastes them into your show file. So you end up with partial show read fixtures in your patch, and then you can create the groups, and you can use the layout view and do the camera import because the 3D position data is included in the patch. And that way, for each festival, you basically get an empty show file with just the patch and the 3D position data, and you do a partial show read, and then you get those fixtures into your show file. But they're just like regular fixtures. They don't interact with the groups or effects you've already made. So that's basically the difference because the cloning actually takes the data from your stuff you've programmed and actually pastes them onto the fixtures you have inserted into your show file via partial show read. So yeah, I've used P5s too, the SGM. I don't really like those. I think there's a strobe version and there's a regular wash one. I mean, they do the job, but actually, yeah, I'm not sure what strobe I prefer in terms of the color strobes. If you're talking regular strobes, I do prefer atomic LED. But if you really need a LED full strobe, I'm not actually sure what I would prefer, actually. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, I don't see the... Crap. So the stream is stable though. That's good. Yeah, the atomic LED is basically what's on every festival everywhere. So if you're in that line of work, you basically use them every day. And actually, I did a festival last season with regular atomics outside. It was right beside the beach, and they used the regular atomics in kind of a plastic IKEA drawer, kind of like a regular storage box that's transparent, and they used those as protection for the strobes. But man, like half of them wasn't really working. I mean, it was just terrible. But they were bright. They were bright as fuck, and they probably did take a lot of power. I'm surprised the generators actually supplied enough. So is the background music... I even forgot that I got the background music on. That's fun. Yeah, so I think my cloning command is basically the same. There's not really a ton of ways you can do that. So my cloning command is clone group X at group X if sequence through. So yeah, that's basically the exactly same as Christian's. Yeah, so GDC ones, I've used them a couple of times and I like them. It's especially if you can actually use them if you're touring and you have a ground package. It's really nice to have some GDC ones to actually do them correctly in the layout view, so you can actually program them correctly. It's actually really nice. And it's like 3 fixtures in one light. You have a color wash, and you have a strobe, and you have a eye candy pixel map thing. So I mean, they're really expensive, but they actually do quite a lot for what they are in such a small package. So if there's a budget for it, I would definitely prefer the JDC ones over any strobe, or you can actually replace like wash fixtures in a ground package with just JDC ones actually. So they're really nice. So yeah, I think the stream has been up for a while now. So we are 20 minutes in, and we still got a stream. Actually, let me figure out where to put my laptop. I guess I could put it here. All right, let's do something. Let's do some Bitmap stuff. Actually, let's do something with the washes here. So 1 second buffering. Maybe that's local, I'm not sure. Bitmap. Actually, let's load I think I have one at let's see, 5. Cool. So something I really want to do with bitmaps, I've not really implemented that very well in my show file, but let's see if this works. So if I control the scale, yeah, cool. So something like this, and yeah. Then maybe if I do position, right, so -60 maybe. Let's see if this works. So let's do go. Right, so something's up. Oh yeah, I think I need to have high priority on that one. Cool. So I could basically I think I have I have both instances of the aura in this layout view. So that's why it first gets on the aura and then it goes in the actual picture. But yeah, so you can do this kind of oh yeah, stupid. It's supposed to be go, not on. So each time you press the button, it does like a color sweep with all the pictures. So like I'm thinking I would like one this way and right besides it the other way. That would be cool. So let's do bits. I think I can do the same. So at full, let's go to select the image. So the image I have is a regular white one actually. Let's do those. And let's check out position of that one. See where it's right, so it's over there. So let's store that. And let's change to the other side. Create second queue. And then we're gonna do a go button this time. Otherwise it doesn't work. Priority high. And ignore exact time. Also, let's go. Follow. Fade time 0.1, 0.5, sorry. Other way. So now you can do some manual stuff. And you can see the side lights as well. It does do the color swipe effect on the side lights as well. So when you have new fixtures, you basically just put them inside of this frame. And that's very useful when you're out doing shows and stuff. Yeah, so this is it's an unofficial test stream because I was a little bit too bold going live publicly and not really testing everything through properly. So this is kind of just a test stream and see how stable it is. But yeah, so I'm currently working on some bitmapping stuff. I'm not actually the problem I have is normally I have my like these kind of buttons when I do manual stuff. I usually have those on the X keys. The problem is that now with the MA3 the X keys are basically broken. They have removed 4 of them and they've put like a line of buttons underneath the X keys that you all the time, I always accidentally, because I have the muscle memory, I always have my right hand like this, and then I do marks like this, and it's always in the way this line because they moved everything up. So my muscle, I guess I get used to it, but I need to find another place to put these kind of mark buttons. I'm not really sure where to. I mean, I have some space available here with my effects page, like here. But I normally use this for lasers or visuals or other stuff I need to have quick access to. And I absolutely hate changing pages. That's a big no-no for me. I can't be stuck on one page and then have muscle memory, because you always want to be at the point where you can, with your muscle memory, you can basically close your eyes and still run a show. You want to reach that point of you need to be so familiar with your show file that you are at that point. And I absolutely hate being on different pages, so I always have one page and 2 screens, and I basically need to fit everything on there. Those are bitmaps, yeah, so I just created them. Basically it's just a queue list. It's a bump queue, so I have one queue and then a follow queue with a fade time. And I basically have changed the position. So the picture just pretty much, it's a white picture. I think if I pull up the images here. Where is the image group? Here. So it's a regular white image. Actually, it's pure white, just made in Photoshop, and then I resize it, so it's a portrait size. So basically, it's like this size, and then it basically swipes through. But yeah, so this is just a quick example. You can be way more advanced with it. I haven't implemented Bitmap fully yet, but that's what I'm working on. And the best part is when you not only just do the color on or the dimmer on when the picture flies by, but you actually implement presets. So here in the video, you can select a mode, and you can change like you can have now it's on RGB plus dim, but you can have only dimmer, you can have gobo presets, you can have color presets, you can have beam presets, focus and stuff. So that's very powerful. So you can do an entire show basically without effects and just using bitmaps and effects, or sorry, presets. So instead of effects, you can actually use, and that will probably like save you some time with creating symmetrical effects and stuff. That would be fun to play around with, actually just using bitmaps for an entire show, not needing to actually do selections, just having the layout view and having bitmap windows, and then basically run the show entirely with bitmaps. That would be cool. On my to-do list, actually. So the camera is probably focused in around the middle here. Let's see what my f-stop is at. I'm at 3.5. So what I can do basically is let's do, this is great. So I will make that up with ISO. So I think I'm exposed right about there. So we should probably be a lot more in focus now, right? And the exposure looks good, I think. Actually, it's on manual focus right now. Let's do autofocus. Let's see. Let's do here. I think the focus should be better now. Is it too dark though? I think it's good. Now we're at 4.5 instead of 3.5, so we should be way more in focus. So this is great. You can have kind of a unofficial live stream. I should have done this in the first place. I shouldn't have gone public with the live stream before testing in a real scenario. Cool. Yeah, so apparently 4G wireless is way more stable than cable these days. That's fun. Right, so I will probably do a live stream this weekend then, like an official one. So I should probably have like a list of stuff to talk about before I do the stream. So if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears. Yeah, so I haven't tried. I guess you could try mirroring two bitmap windows using bitx. Well, so I think what you mean is, do you mean like this is? I think this. I'm just. I think it just basically flips. So if you're viewing from the up or from the front, so now I'm kind of viewing from front. So I have it on regular bitmap, but bitmap X is supposed to just flip it, right? So yeah, this is the most frustrating thing with the latency issue. That if I ask something back, it takes a good minute before the chat actually updates. Cool. Is the background music too distracting, or is it kind of nice to have a... Okay, cool. So I haven't actually mentioned the thing I do with this show file that probably most people don't do. I actually have one effect running on every fixture in the show file simultaneously. So if I select a fixture, or an effect here on my effects playback, nothing happens. But when I actually press one of the stomp buttons on each group, it actually runs the effects. So this is for the wash ones. So I can basically switch between all the fixture types that runs these effects. So that's pretty cool, I guess. So if I have the pulse effect, I can kind of select which fixtures. And I have a button for every fixture to run the effects. And I have a slight fade time on this as well, because I feel it's pretty nice to just press 2 buttons and have a very drastic change in the lighting. So to do very dynamic stuff, I absolutely love this way of having effects run. I started using this like last year, and I just feel it's way better than under any other way I've done before. And on these 5 faders, I'm using the most used effects. So basically a sine wave, a sweep effects, odd even one. And you see how nice it is with this pattern I have in the grid when every fixture other truss is inverted. So you have spots, and you have spots there, and you have spots again. It creates this nice pattern that's really nice when you do symmetrical effects. And the best part is I can actually change this entire grid so when I do, this is mainly for my EDM shows, but I can actually show this or change this entire grid and have like for rock shows or church services or whatever, I can do entire different type of effects. So these effects are they're like blocky and stuff, mainly for EDM, but I can have different effects for different gigs basically. So the hazer I own, well, I guess I own Sweetfog Ultimate 2000 and Haze Bass. That's basically what I'm using for my own stuff. But I'm not really so keen on using my own equipment anymore. I'm probably going to sell off a lot of the stuff I have. The problem is it's not a very good time to sell your gear right now. It's a very bad time actually. But yeah, so another thing I do is I separate the floor package from the flown stuff. So the Vipers here is running the same effects, but I can toggle so I can change if the effect is visible on each fixture group. So I basically press 2 buttons here and I get a very dynamic change in the lighting. So I can basically run a whole show just like pressing these 2 buttons, or maybe you need to change it up. So let's do beam first and then floor package. Let's do beam, floor package. Let's do washes, floor package, or something else. So that's basically how I can run an entire show with selecting one effect per song basically. So if there's another song, I normally just go blackouts, and then I pull up like maybe my floor pack or something as a distraction. It's an easy part of a song. And then okay, so I'm gonna run this effect. So then I pull to blackout or something, and then I run the effect, and then I can still basically change between fixture groups. So I'm not at all matching. I don't even hear the background music being played in the stream right now. So I can basically run a whole show. Just looks very good. Like most combinations I do looks pretty good doing it this way. So so that's basically how I run an entire show with just pressing like 2 buttons. It's pretty crazy actually. Like before, in my previous show files, I was jumping around, I was doing all this kind of stuff. I was dragging these faders, and then boom, dragging this fader, and bam, and then boom. But nowadays it's so, with this system, I can basically do an entire show file just basically pressing these buttons and getting a very dynamic show. And that's both good and bad, I guess. And I also have the positions on this screen. So I have like a DJ position. It's pretty cool. So I really like doing this, like doing some chases and stuff with at the DJ, and then basically doing a blind position or something, so it slowly goes out to the audience. This is not a very good effect of doing that with, but yeah, you get a point. Cool, so I got... The stream is stable though, I like that. Let's see, probably nobody's watching right now. But yeah, so if you have any suggestions what I would should go through doing this kind of stream, but in public. Yeah, cool. So that's a good question actually. Have different effects for different feature types at the same time. I can actually do that. It's not the best solution, but I have had that in mind. So if I have a pulse effect running here, I do have a regular cue list on each fixture group. So if the washes, if I pull it twice, it will do a fade, and I can step through, so I can have an odd even chase or effect going through on the washes, and then I can still do the pulse effect on the other groups using the stomp button. And that's very useful when you have the ground package, and if we were to have it centered on the DJ, and I normally, if you have like a odd even chase on the, I don't know why I keep saying change instead of chase or effect, stupid. But yeah, so if I want to do that, and then I want to have a flare effect on some other groups, I can do that. So yeah, that's how I run effects simultaneously. But I mean, often in terms of EDM, running multiple different effects at the same time can actually be more jarring and distracting than actually just running with one effect. So I actually prefer to, often I only use this when I actually have maybe side lights. If I have some good side light and I want a nice effect running most of the time, I would do some kind of effect with the cue list. But otherwise, I normally like to, per song, select effects, then basically go with it. Yeah, so movement effects. So good question. You can't see it, but on this little display here, I got executors, and I have one for each fixture group. So, and I also have a move fader. I know you can reverse faders, but I actually came to getting used to actually having the move fader up when it stops all the effects. It's basically just a stomp cue for all the effects on all the fixture types. And I basically select here on the screen which fixture groups I want to move. So in this case, I only want the beams and the spots to move in tilt effects. And basically, what I just need to do is pull back the stomp cue, and it runs my movement effect. And it doesn't run on the washes, just the ones I've selected here. So if I select washes, I can run that effect on the washes as well. So yeah, that's how I do movements, and I basically have a circle, pan, tilt, and then I have so I can basically select. Now it doesn't have any groupings at all, but I can select. So now it's one group, and now I press for 2 groups and 4 groups. So I can select. I can modify the movement effects by pressing the groups here and selecting which fixture types are going to run that movement effect. Different stomps for pan and tilt. So I guess the principle for that is that you have when you have stomped off both pan and tilt, you get a circle effect. I guess if you want to save up on the effect pool, you could do that. It's a valid thing to do. It works, but I feel like I have more freedom having circle, pan, and tilt separate, because then I can modify them. So I don't have to create 2 modifiers for pan and tilt to get the circle modifier. If I take the beams here, for example. If I do movement on the beams here, now it's oh sorry, that's not the circle. So let's do a circle. Now it doesn't have any groupings at all, but now I can add groupings. And basically you can't really do that easily if you have pan and tilt, because you need to have a separate macro anyways to select the groupings of both pan and tilt at the same time. So I really don't see the points of doing it that way. It works. It takes the same amount of actual control surface space if you want to do modifiers and stuff. But yeah. How I deal with joked out fixtures. I prefer to not have joked out fixtures at all. I haven't actually solved that one, but I have a pretty... My show file is pretty forgiving. I don't do very much advanced stuff. So if I can get a good base precision, like my positions are basically, I have, let's do, the beams here are easy to see. I have a out position, I have a blind position. These are not really made, but a blind position would be kind of like this. Then out position is basically a straight out. Normally I do the out position where I can see where the beams or the center of the illumination, I can see them. So if there's no haze in a venue, I can actually do the positions anyways, just doing the center first and then going out, just doing the same distance between each fixture. And then I have an up position and a down position. Then I have a DJ position. That basically, and I also have X cross. That's automatically based off basically the out position, and it just takes MA2 and it just puts a -25 value on the odd and +25 value on the even. So it should basically work automatically when I have made the out position. Cool, so you sent a bitmap file. Am I brave enough to actually run this file? Let's see. I will do play it in VLC. Let's see if I get a virus. Alright, so you can... This was a very short video. Let's loop that. Oh, okay, cool. So you're basically inverting. Yeah, exactly. So the X1 is that you invert the bitmap. Cool. So that's one way of doing inverted effects with bitmap. Cool. I guess you can use it that way. That's cool. So let's see with my when my bandwidth cap is actually going to. I think we're gonna be good. This is a great test live stream. We'll probably do one for real this weekend. Cool. So I'm not really any advanced bitmapper at all. But that's kind of what I wanted to work on this live stream, or the live stream I meant to do before everything crashed, crashed and burned, basically. So bitmap wise, I have some ideas what I want to do, but I don't really like the. Yeah, so odd even chases with every third. I think you mean like instead of going per beat, you actually do it in 3 groups. I actually do that normally for blinders. Let's see if I have an example here. I can make one real quick. So if we do the washes, let's do the spots actually. So if I have spots right here, let's do like a dimmer PVM. Now let's look at sin wave. Then we do 3 groups. So I normally do this with blinders actually, because I don't like when blinders are per beat. I kind of like them looking pretty random like they do now. So running 3 groups, I don't really do it in the rig normally, but for blinder chases I often do that. I should probably save this live stream though in my YouTube library. Not sure what you mean about strobe executor all at once or only lit in effect. I have seen I'm not sure how you even pronounce it, but depends to visualizer. Actually, a buddy of mine, the LD for Meshuggah, Edvard, he has done a pretty cool YouTube video when he's using the patch. I have not yet to get a license of him. He only got 1 license, but he has been nagging on me to try it a bit. So if I get my hands on a license, I will probably try it. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with Capture. I don't even run the latest version of Capture, to be honest. This is, I think it's 2019, it must be. The quality is really low on the it's only 1900 euro. Yeah, it's only. Yeah, so the thing is, What I care most about is the reporting, and I haven't seen very good reporting from Depends 2. So as a visualizer it holds grounds for sure, but as a reporting tool to actually create plots and equipment lists, I'm so familiar and fast working in Capture, so that's basically what I'm going to stick to. But it's fun to try new visualizers. I've seen the L8 too, the light converse. I actually played a bit with light converse like for maybe even 8 years ago. To record you have to pay 3,400. Yeah. If you're going to render, yeah. Yeah, okay, so if you have a dimmer effects going, when you flash a strobe executor, do the fixture strobe all at once, or the only ones that are lit at the moment in the effects? Let's see, shall we? So if we're running a fade effect on the spots, actually let's make them a bit of a... that didn't really help. Anyways, let's hit the strobe button. Yeah, so they don't strobe all at once, only the ones being lit in the dimmer value by the effect is strobing. That are also on the random strobe as well. So yeah, and I have both a toggle strobe and a executor for temp strobing, and besides the random strobe. That's what I prefer to use. Some people like to have like to stomp the dimmer effect and put the strobe on 100. I don't really like that. I like to being able to keep building up with the strobe. So example, if I run like a swipe effects, like to keep it like it is for a build up, and then increase the energy with the strobe, and even introduce white, and then yeah. So that's kind of what I like to do. Is there a way for me to not let queues update to a preset, only as the queue is live? Not sure what you mean by that. Please explain. So now again, the latency is probably off by a good minute, I think. I'm basically watching my stream back on my laptop here. We've been streaming for 1 hour on this unofficial stream. Maybe I should have made this stream public. People are not going to believe me when I stream next time. They're probably, I'm not gonna tune in. It crashed last time. Sad. 1 hour, and as far as I know, it's very stable. Cool. Yeah, so the capture is running on a very low resolution because of the... It's running on the same computer I use for the stream. So that's why it's running in low res. Yes, I mostly do EDM shows. I think probably about... I work for a company called Alight Production, and we're out doing EDM shows for DJs. So, and that's pretty much the type of work my show file is doing. That's why it's so built for dynamic, very easy dynamic lighting changes in a very EDM way. So it's very based for build-ups and breaks and stabs and stuff. So, and it's pretty fun to being the guy that does EDM shows. And I am of course doing a lot of corporate as well and festivals for sure. But mainly I'm out as a EDM lighting operator. And only recently have I actually started to do like vlogs and videos out of it. I have uploaded one from a local show in Gothenburg, and I've done one when I was out in India. I have actually on my hard drive one from when I was in Indonesia for Jakarta warehouse project. It was a pretty big stage, a lot of fixtures, and I only had 1 hour programming slot, so I basically had to pull most of the positions from the house LD, and they were, I have like 20 minutes before the sun rose, and I just didn't have the time to fix the positions, so the show looked, the positions weren't great, but it was a super huge stage, so it didn't really matter. I have actually not been in Denmark doing any shows. I actually do fly out of Denmark a lot. I live in Malmö, so it's just a 30-minute train ride to Copenhagen airport. So I am in Denmark regularly, just I'm flying out from Denmark. I'm not actually doing some gigs in Denmark. You have 3 presets in your show, referred by everything, and I want to have some chasers that don't update when I change the presets. So when I turn off the chasers, it changes on stage. I have not seen that. I'm not really following what you mean, so sorry, I can't help you. Let's see. Should I actually publish this stream, like going, this is unlisted right now, but I guess I could deploy it. So it's a test stream for everyone to see. Let's see, how do I do that? Let's see if this works. I'm just gonna try to do it, make it public. Let's see if anyone gets a notification or something. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna keep this up, but it's fun to see. Take 2. What's the best way to get started with MA? I'm currently on Onyx. So I'm actually using Onyx as well, or I still call it Martin MPC. I'm not used to the new name. But Onyx is very, actually if you don't need the perks that MA bring in terms of creating your own workflow or the more advanced cloning and partial show read and stuff. If you're not actually touring or of course you can tour with Onyx, but if you're not actually if you don't need MA2, then I would actually be happy with Onyx. It's very powerful, but if you need to get started with MA, I think most is pretty... It's the same basically. You got presets, you got a programmer with attributes, and you get executors and faders that you store that data on. So I think just download it on PC and try it basically. Could you talk a bit about the process? What do you do when arriving at a new gig? Yeah, so the process actually starts way before I'm actually arrive at the location. So if I'm gonna do a festival in some place in advance, like months in advance or weeks in advance when I book the gig, I will ask for an empty show file with the patch and the position data for each fixture. If they can't supply the actual MA2 show file, I would just ask for a regular patch on a regular plot, but it saves so much time to actually from the house LD at a festival, if you're going to fly in for it, that you actually receive the position data in the patch. And that allows you to automatically make the layout views. And that's a huge time saver. And this is like weeks ahead of the event. And then I actually do all the cloning and symmetrical selections, like when you go from basically symmetrical selection is that you select the first fixture in the middle, and then you're always gonna end up at the next one. And that means when you basically think about it in the other way and you put wings on it, it will start from these two, the first one and the last one you have selected, and it will go out from that. So you would do pretty much a lasso around. Basically, if I'm gonna jump from here to here, it makes more sense than having this light after this light. So you basically think about what's the most logical way this would flow seamlessly. So the symmetrical selections and the cloning and everything I will do in advance, like weeks ahead. And then on the actual events, when I show up, I have a little checklist here. And I basically do the positions, the out position, the blind position, the up position, the down position, the DJ position. And I also update the max strobe preset, the random strobe, the open preset, the narrow, normal and wide. And then I create 3 gobos with focus and zoom included in those presets. And those presets are actually basically the gobo. And then I have different speeds for them. And that's because of a little cool thing I have called the breaker. So if at any time I feel like something's really building up and I need to break the effect, like if I have something running and I really need to break it, I can pull the break fader and it will basically stomp the movement effect and go to gobo mode. And then when I press a go button, it will move faster and strobe. And then I pull it down and it returns to the effect it was previously. So that's a cool little thing. But yeah, so then I update basically what's on this page. And if everything is cool, that's basically the only thing I need to update. Maybe sometimes I need to update the color presets. If there's like fixtures that's not RGBW, or if they spec one fixture but they have another one at location, you might need to update the color presets as well. When I was in India, I actually had to update like every position or preset, sorry, I had in my show file because of the knockoff copies that didn't really copy perfectly with their real things. Yeah, cool, so you got another notification, that's awesome. Yeah, so I normally just do one-off shows. I'm not really touring. I'm actually more of a fill-in for the ones running the company. So if you have any questions, so this stream is basically a test stream, because the one I was planned to have crapped out pretty fast. So if you have any questions or something, you could ask in chat. I've basically gone through my entire show file already, because I didn't make the stream public until recently now, when we've been streaming for like over 1.5 hours actually. Do's and don'ts when creating your busking show file. So I guess it's very up to you basically. In the end, it's you're the ones that's going to use the show file. So whatever works for you. But something to think about when creating, as I said in the beginning of this stream, I like to have very simple fixtures in my clone file. So Vipers, Aura, and basically single instance fixtures. It's fun to do like creative effects and stuff with JDC ones on full mode, but if you're going to tour with different festivals and different locations and different venues, and if you don't have your own floor package with those fixtures, it's better to have basic one instance fixtures that you clone off, and that's available worldwide. So Viper is a good spot fixture to clone off and stuff. And when creating your own show file, I mean, whatever works for you, basically. People are asking me if I can send them my show file, and I don't really like that, just because it's taken so long for me to actually come up with what works for me, and those maybe doesn't work for everyone. So just come up with something that works for you, and that's way better than actually copying someone else. Basically, you can get ideas from other people, but how you like depends on what work you do as well. Like, I have a show file for busking EDM shows specifically, but if you're creating a show file for your church or your local venue or your local festival season, it's really depending on what you're actually going to do with the show file. Like, maybe you shouldn't have crazy effects running in a simple show file. Speedmaster. So I have a BPM button for all the BPM effects basically, and it's down on the X keys, so it's always the bottom right X key here I have as a BPM key. Normally it's set to 128 or something, and then on the two faders here I have the dimmer one and the move one, and that's basically all the speed masters I have. The dimmer one is, for example, fades and dimmer effects and stuff. That's not BPM based, and as well as flow effects and stuff. That's also no, sorry, actually this one is probably no. Well, I'm wrong. But yeah, so the dimmer effect and then the move speed, and the move is actually on this stomp fader here. So the move Speedmaster, yeah, nothing special there at all. This specific console is not mine, but it's currently in my apartment in front of my couch. So for this time being, it's mine, I guess. I actually had a MA2 Lite console that I owned for a while. 2015 I think, about it. And basically it ended up, I sold it like in 2017 I think, because I wasn't really going to have a console for that amount of money laying around at home, and I wasn't really having it out on gigs anyways. Like, I was out doing gigs on festivals and stuff, but the local providers always had MA2s on location, so it wasn't really rented out because all my big customers, they had MA2s already, and it was basically just laying either at the warehouse or at home, and I wasn't doing a ton of it wasn't doing a ton of stuff, so having that much just doing nothing is not really economical. So I sold it and I paid off some stuff instead. And now I just borrow consoles from friends in the industry when I need to. So I just prefer that. I am, however, thinking about getting a MA3 Lite console. Will probably have to be when all this Corona crisis is off. Yeah, so the 5 faders on the left screen here. These are basically for my DJ spots. So these are cloned as a different group. So basically I can, in the dark, select how powerful it should be, or basically when I do the test for the gig. So if I find that, because you always want to expose for, if there are any live cameras or something, you want to expose the front light or the side light or the DJ light for those. So if I find that 20% is good for good exposure, basically, I can leave it on 20, and then I can just press the toggle button and it will fade up. And I can also fade it down. And this actually follows along on a lot of the strobe hits and stuff. You need to be careful doing it this way, because some DJs really like when the spots on them are flashing and stuff too, but some absolutely hate it. So I have a macro that blocks those attributes from changing. So be careful of that. But yeah, so that's basically what I have as a super fader for the spotlights. Then I have the same thing for the backlights. Doesn't have any backlight at the moment. Also for side lights and for regular front. These are not even in position at the moment. But if you have regular fronts, and then I have an exact time. And these are basically for all the effects stuff. So now I have a large 3-second exact time. So it takes 3 seconds for it to fade up. I normally leave it like 0.5. I don't really like when it's too instant, or as I was talking about when I actually toggle between different looks or different fixture groups. It's not really great if it's too instant. It looks a little bit better if it has a slight fade time on it. It looks more controlled that way than having an instant. I mean, this is, and you can change that very quickly on the exact time fader. So either way, you can make it look however you want. If you want a little fade time on it, or if you want it to be instant, it's up to you. But I have the exact time there for exactly that control. So I'm thinking about the MA3, the light one, not the compact one. Even the light one is, it's basically the same as the normal light one. I don't think I don't really get the ultra light one or compact. I mean, the compact makes more sense now, but the ultra light, the MA2 ultra light, it's basically on PC rig without UPS, without the extra screen. It's very expensive for what it is. So imagine if this console didn't have this screen, it didn't have any motorized faders, and it didn't have an UPS. it would only be this screen, and the buttons basically, and those functionalities you can get with the on PC sets for half the money, and then a good touch screen. So I don't really get the MA2 Ultralight very much. Yeah, so I haven't seen any MA3s for sale, actually. So I don't know. But yeah, I guess so. During the Corona crisis, some companies might actually go bankrupt. So it's very sad. But yeah, that means that some equipment will try to sell off. But I mean, the thing is, you can't charge more for a MA3 console as a rental company, and it's the same exact rates as a MA2 as far as I know. And as far as riders, most riders at high level actually say that you need MA2 consoles and not MA3 specifically. Like, even if you have a MA3 console running in mode 2, it's really not the same. Like, when you're out on tour and you have 1 hour to do everything you need, you actually need the actual muscle memory to find everything quickly and do all the presets. You don't have time to fiddle around with where is that button or where is that button. So many high-level LDs still on their riders say no MA3 consoles, just MA2. And as a rental company, I mean, it basically means that it's not a selling point to have MA3s yet. It will come at some time. It will be a selling point, and you will able to charge more for MA3s, and you will fulfill riders which say they need MA3s. But at this point, and probably for like 2 years to come, MA3 is not really a benefit in a rental performance, basically. So is the background music too loud, or is it cool? It should probably be decently balanced. So actually, MediaTek or Creative Technology, I actually used their MA3 console like in the last gig I did now before the whole shutdown. I was on one of their MA3 consoles. I actually have a video on my computer I made from that event. We'll probably upload that soon. It was a hardstyle festival, so it was like 9 hours. I was the house LD with a lights production, and I was basically running the lights for 9 hours straight with just hardstyle. I had the GoPro as a front of house cam, and like one besides the console pointing at me, and you can see in the footage I look so bad. I look so tired, and that's basically 7 hours of hardstyle just doing lights for it. So that was fun. That was the last gig I've done now it was the 7th of March, so it's soon 1 month ago actually. So yeah, basically what I'm working on the showfile right now is bitmapping. So I created some color swipe effects. I have some plan of what to do with the bitmapping, and I had this idea of like creating a whole show file with just bitmap effects and not actually running any actual effects, just using bitmaps and having bitmaps manipulate presets basically. That way you don't actually have to create any symmetrical selection or anything. You actually just need to populate the little box with the fixtures you have, and off you go. I have no idea why the MA3 got 2 MA buttons. Please enlighten me. Yeah, I'm not sure if the MA2 is optimized for MA3 hardware, but I mean, if you're talking just pure power, the MA3 hardware is great. And I mean, actually, I preferred actually the buttons, not the placement of buttons, but the actual feel of the buttons. They're not as clicky, and I thought I would actually hate that, because I actually kind of like the clickiness of the MA2 buttons, but after probably running more shows on MA3 in the past year than MA2, I actually kind of grown to like the more sleek buttons of the MA3. So hardware and the screens are way better. I mean, the MA2, these screens are, I mean, it's not very responsive. You actually need, I often use my nail on these screens because the finger doesn't really, you can see it's kind of, even though I'm dragging, it kind of repositions. It's not very responsive. So I actually use the nail and it works way better. So that's a tip if you actually new on a MA2 console. These screens, use your back of your nail instead of your finger. It works way better. And that's giving selections and stuff as well. Use the back of your nail. I guess that's you can say that about every touchscreen. It works better if you use the back of your nail for it, because your back of your nail is not as greasy as your finger. If you make that file with 100% bitmaps, how will you do even odd looks? So I guess you can have actually a bitmap grid, so you can place fixtures in a pattern that actually kind of like a bitmap movie, or like 2 frames basically, that's odd even with white, and you can basically strategically place, I guess, or like having a grid system. But I mean, odd even effects are, you can basically use just a chase. You don't even need effects. And I mean, the 100% bitmap ID is just kind of a fun thought. It's not very, I mean, of course you need some effects, and like an odd even one is a super easy effect to make, so it takes no time at all. So currently I'm not actually programming for anything specific. I'm currently just working on my showfile basically. So this is just kind of a test stream to check if everything works correctly. I was meant to do a official stream, like, but the internet service provider didn't really work. So this is kind of a test stream. But I plan to do a live stream this weekend to get more, to do a walk through on my show file, and how I actually, if you can kind of do a sneak peek if you revert this live stream to like 1 hour ago. I kind of already go through how I have my show file, but I will do like a more detailed one, more serious one in the coming live stream. But now I guess I know that live stream works. There's a pretty bad latency though. It's a good minute before I actually see the chat update. So I guess that's the only thing that's not working. I'm actually streaming off a wireless 4G network right now, because it's way more stable than the cable connection I have in my apartment. So, is there anything special about your color executor? Do you mean my bitmap I just created? I also have the color effects as effects. So basically, I have some color effects with just a regular effect engine. But there's really nothing special about it. In terms of the effect, the only thing you need for like Sharpies is you need a low effects preset. And when I change the color here, it actually updates the low effects, so it knows what color I'm on. So if I select yellow, I actually have a macro that, yeah. So I have a macro that prevents, it's called the Sharpie fucker, because the color wheels on Sharpies are so fucking bad. So when I press the Sharpie fucker macro, it actually disables the fade time on the beams, on the beam group. And the other fixtures still have the fade time that I select on this page. But yeah, so the low effects gets updated when I change the color. So it knows what color is the low effect and what's the high effect. So when you do this odd even with white, for example, it's an effect and it's have basically the preset for the low effect. That's the color you originated at. And then it has the white as the high effect, or the high preset, sorry. Instead of a high and low value, you use presets instead. Yeah, sure. I'm thinking about doing tutorial videos on YouTube, but I guess it's very individual how you. Yeah, I don't really have a excuse not to do it, I guess. I mean, Christian Jackson already does some really cool tutorial videos if you really want to get into it. But if anyone is interesting, sure, I can make tutorials. But that would basically be like me doing it my special way. I'm not actually a good MA programmer by any means. There are a ton of people that's way better at programming than me. But I know how to run a show, so. I still own a company. I actually own two, basically. One with equipment of my own, but it has basically all the money I make, I basically put into buying equipment as an investment, because having a rental stock and having equipment basically means that instead of investing in the market or just saving money, I invest in equipment that in return I make money off. But that also means that all your liquidity is actually in equipment. And to get that liquidity back, you actually need to sell equipment. So what's happening now with the Corona crisis is that I'm not able to sell anything to get liquidity back. So it's not really a safe investment when you think about it. But if this Corona crisis wasn't going on, it would have been a great investment. But probably when all this is over, I will probably start to sell off a lot of the equipment and just pull back a little bit on those gigs, because I don't really feel and enjoy doing it anymore. Like going out with 20 fixtures and dealing with clients and stuff and transport and logistics. I much rather just go out on tour or fly out and do shows, basically. So my plan is to basically sell off some stuff. This is a Dell XPS 15 and I like it very much. It feels a lot like a laptop, or sorry, like a MacBook Pro, but it's Windows, and I prefer Windows at the moment. I'm kind of going back and forth a lot with the whole Windows and Mac stuff. I've used MacBooks a lot in the past. Currently, I'm more of a Windows guy, but it's constantly changing. So. But I can highly recommend the Dell XPS 15. This is the new one with the webcam on top of the screen, not the nose cam down here. And it's a very good laptop because it has very good in and out connections. So I got a USB, HDMI, that's great for when you use this as a Resolume laptop. You also got a USB-C, so that's great when I have my SSD drive. Headphone jack is great, and also a USB and a freaking SD card reader. I think that's my favorite port on this laptop. So convenient when you need to dump footage and you have an inbuilt SD card reader. It's great. It is, I can pull up here, it's my Dell. This is actually specifically, yes, it's really slow. How does this software work? Sorry. How do I see my... Oh, there we go. It's a Dell XPS 15 7590. So 7590 it is, specifically. But I mean, I would probably, if I would buy another laptop for show duty, I would probably buy something with a bit more of a better graphic cards, like the Razer one or something. This Dell, it can run Resolume pretty well. I'm not sure if I have the visuals on here, but I can run 60 FPS on Resolume with like 3 or 5 layers activated. Yeah, no, I don't have any visuals at the moment in here. But as soon, I've had some problems with Resolume. Like if the laptop gets very hot, it will start to throttle the performance of the GPU. And that's a bad thing when you're out on a gig and you do visuals. So if I would change, I would probably buy the Razer one or something with a more powerful GPU. Oh really, the Razer one dies after 3 years. That's bad. So yeah, I did research months ago with the whole laptop thing, but I'm pretty outdated because I'm generally happy with the Dell XPS. So the only thing I'm missing is basically a Ethernet port, but I guess a dongle works fine for now. So yeah, this is just kind of a test stream, basically. Very casual, not actually doing a lot of programming for now. We'll probably save that for later this weekend. So, but we've been going at it for almost 2 hours now, this test stream. So I would call it pretty stable when running in 4G instead of cable. So that's good. Do you have any problems with video or audio or stuff? Or does everything sound and look good? Let me know in the chat. Cool. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this stream going. If you want to see the showfile walkthrough, you could give a little quick tease by reverting this live stream back a bit, like 1 hour or so, and you can watch the kind of walkthrough I did then. But I will do a more detailed one and explaining my workflow in my whole effects and stomp buttons and stuff. Probably this weekend. So it's Thursday today. So either tomorrow or probably Saturday or something. And please like find me on Discord and send suggestions on what topics I should talk about. So I have something to go off. This is like the first try of a live stream, so it's pretty bad. But I guess I don't have anything better to do at the moment, sitting at home at the couch. So I'm not actually sure how well do you see the screen on the right here. I'm trying to get a better angle for the camera, but what ends up happening is, well, I have a couch and a wall behind me, so I can't really get the camera stand to be back there. So that's a bit of a problem. So yeah, I'm actually going to implement worlds a bit more in my show file. I actually have no world implementation at all at the moment. I will probably look into that a bit more using worlds. Yeah, so I guess if I can't really raise the... Yeah, you get some flares when I lower the screen. See these neck lights. Quick question, do you call them neck lights or do you call them goose neck lights or something? Different people call them different things. So I think, there we go. Yeah, I will probably try to reposition the camera a bit later. Yeah, the MA2 on PC layout overlay, I mean, I feel that's kind of... I don't think it would help a lot. I think it would be better to have the regular screens of the MA2s. Yeah, desk lights, I guess. Yeah. Svanhalslampa. That's great. Right, cool. So I'm probably going to cut the stream soon. Now I have some idea of what works and doesn't in terms of internet service provider. So our cable connection is terrible, crashed immediately, and the 4G wireless is holding up pretty well actually. And I do have an unlimited data plan, so it should be good to go for future streams. Is the quality alright in terms of bitrate and stuff? Does it ever be pixelating and stuff? I think I'm at like 3000 or 2500 bitrate right now. And it seems to run good. So yeah, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm probably going to close the live stream for now and probably save some for the big live stream this weekend. I'm probably gonna do. So I'm thinking Friday or Saturday. Come with suggestions. What would be better? I guess most people are sitting at home anyways, so I guess that wouldn't matter. I think actually this is recorded, this live stream, so... But yeah, if you want to see my show file quick walkthrough, just rewind this live stream a bit, and you should see a little tease of the live stream, or the show file walkthrough. How I get a flyout effect faster. So I guess the flyout is just a regular stock effect in MA. So I actually have one here, and I have that effect made to a Speedmaster, specifically my move Speedmaster. So yeah, just assign the effect to a Speedmaster, and you do that by, let's see if I find the flyout. Where is it? Where is the flyout? Here it is. So let's see if you can see this. Here in the speed group, just select both of them. That's pretty important. Otherwise they will do different things at different times. And oh yeah, you press edit. Then you just select which speed master you want it to follow. That's basically it. Very easy. Awesome, cool. Been wondering how you say do one-hit effects on flashes that can move in black back to position and to repeat the effects. Right, so what I think you mean is like bump effects. So basically it's a kill list with this is not the right one. But yeah, so basically like my color chases here. So you have one queue with a go, and then you have a follow queue with a fade time. And you can basically use moving black or just creating a blank queue for blackouts. So I would probably do for the first queue would be a standby queue. So I would create, if we are saying we want, this is one way of doing it, it's not great. But if we're doing like all the washes and we want them to be and start with a down position, so we store that as our first queue, and then we want the first line to go to a blind position, and we put a dimmer on that as well. Let's see. Let's do a fade timer for 1 second. So, oh yeah, fail. Okay, well, let's just do it like this. Not sure what's going on actually. I think I fucked something up with me on bitmapping. It's probably locking it something. Yeah, so those works. Right, let's try it with this one. So what I would do is I would basically select the first lines and want them to start from the down position, and then I want them to at 100 and stop at the blind position. I would create that as a second queue. I would assign this as a go button. We would do it a high priority, and I would take the follow queue, for example 1 second, and then I would actually ignore exact time on that one. So basically, let's see, I feel so stupid right now. Yeah, okay, so those are inverted, basically. Store Q1. And then you basically do the next selection and do the same thing. This was a terrible demo of that. So tips for EDM lighting specifically. Oh yeah, okay, so color wipes. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. I got the submasters here down. That probably explains why I couldn't see my washes. color effects like this. Swipes. These are basically bitmaps. And this is actually a bitmap image that I resized, and then it's a 1 queue, and it starts on the left side, and it's basically a follow queue. So it's a bump button, and it basically goes. I changed the position of the bitmap of the entire white image, and just go from one side and to the right side. And you can basically do that by selecting your bitmap fixture. And in this case, I'm running on layer view 5 for my washes. And then on control over here, sorry, on video, you basically select your image. So 17 in my case, and layout 5. Then you have the position. So you can change the position here. So this layout view is not very great, but yeah, so that's basically. And you can save this position in queues, and by having 2 queues and having a fade time between them, that will make those color wipes. So that's basically what I just started to implement on this show file. In terms of tips of running specifically lighting for EDM, I would say the way I'm using my show file is very optimized for EDM because it's all about dynamic. You want to be able to fast, if you're busking live EDM shows, you want to be able to fast dynamically change lighting. So what I've done is basically, instead of using one fixture type and running one effects, all my effects are running on all fixture types simultaneously. So if I select an effect here, nothing happens. But when I actually turn off the stomp queue on each fixture group, that effect runs on that fixture group. That means that I can basically, to create something dynamic in the lighting, I will basically press 2 buttons, and it would change something very dynamically. And I could basically, yeah, do a whole show with just pressing a few buttons. So yeah, EDM lighting, it's very nice to being able to very fast create dynamic lighting changes. And the same thing, I absolutely hate different pages because I want to have muscle memory. You want to be at a point with your show file that you actually can close your eyes and still run lighting, and you actually just know what's going to happen if I press this button and if I press blackout and stuff. So you want to reach that point. So I absolutely hate having different fader pages. I actually do have different fader pages just at the moment for submasters or master group and stuff, like things I'm working on that I haven't found a place for. But in general, I don't like multi-page show files. I want it to stick to one page and basically know it all out of my head. So yeah, so the stomp buttons are basically, so the effect queues are basically just running all the effects simultaneously for all fixture groups, and then the stomp is basically a dimmer stomp stored into a queue for each. So when they're activated, the stomp is activated and it doesn't show any outputs. But when I release stomp, it actually shows the effects. So it's very easy actually, but I found it to be very powerful for creating very fast dynamic lighting changes. Haze control, I normally, yeah, exactly, haze control and stuff like that I normally do on different pages. If I don't have sidelight or backlights, I would create a fader on the screen right here for haze control, or a executor as a cue list. Depends, some festivals will have you, like in India I had 12 foggers on each different channel, so I basically had another fader page for that, or in that case I had a full size, so I wasn't shortening the faders. I don't use the clone graphical user interface, I use my macro. So I have in this line the source group, my clone fixtures, and in the next line I got the target groups for the new fixtures, and then I have a clone macro. So in each row is each fixture type. So in the spots row, I got clone spots in my fixture as my clone fixtures, and then my target spots that I recently just selected, and then I press clone and it clones. Super easy. And I got a command line feedback as well to see if everything went okay. Yeah, so one-shot effects. Yeah, so you can use delays actually in your cues for that. So, well, there are a ton of tutorials basically on how you can do that, but you have a fade in the attributes here, so you can actually select on that attribute you're changing. So if I have, that's basically what I do with the main intensity. When I first pull it up, you see it goes from the middle and out, and that's basically a fade time stored in that cue. You see, like here, it goes in the middle and out, and that's because I can show you the macro actually. I have a macro that does this int_gen, so it basically selects group 4 at 100, delay 0 through 1.5 through 0, and then it stores the cue at the executor. So you can either do it in the command line, or you can just change something like the beams. I want them on the up position. Then here in the fade time, let's do 0 through 5, please. Sorry, I did that on the dimmer one. Beams up position fade on the tilt one. 0 through 5. And now I don't have any wings, so it will probably, of course it doesn't work. Well, it should work, but it doesn't, because I'm a crappy MA2 programmer. Nothing really works today, I feel like. You know what probably was the problem? I think the exec timer fucked that up a bit. It probably overruled the individual fade time on that cue. But I already deleted it. I guess I could oops it. Yeah, cool, so now it works. The selection is off though, but yeah, so the problem was the exec timer. I had the wrong selection in the group, but if you do a correct selection, or actually I already have a correct selection here, so if I were to do it correctly this time, I would go position, fade, tilt 0 through 5 through 0, and then I would store that overwrite. Let's see what happens. Cool, so now we got a wing. So if you do a 0 through 5 through 0, you add an extra number, you actually create the wing effect of it. Otherwise, if you only do, let's do the beams, and let's do up as well. And let's do instead fade time 0 through 5. It will go from one side to the other side. So let's overwrite that. So it will go from the left side to the right side as a delay. And if I would to add that last number again, like to 0 again, it would do from the middle out or from the out to the middle. So you would do beams up fade time, and then I would do, actually let's do 5 through 0 through 5. And that's all right. Now it will go, if the selection is correct, it will go from the middle and out in one queue. Yeah, you would just use a flyout effect, basically. The cloning macro is actually super simple. So you basically, it's like this. You got clone group like 1 of 5 at group 5 if sequence through. That's all. That's basically the whole clone macro. It's very, very simple. And after I've done all the cloning and after doing all the selections, I have this macro that finds all the effects that begins with, for example, spots, and it updates that. So when I've done all my selections, I would press that macro, and it will remove the individuals as well. So if I'm moving from an entirely different selection, it will actually update all the effects, so it will be symmetrical and nice. And this effect is a little bit more. It actually selects both the sim selection and the straight selection, so it's basically the same thing twice, but I have different groups. So let's see, in the layout view here, so the top group for spots example is the symmetrical selection. So if I would highlight, it would start as a symmetrical selection, and then I have a straight one. That's basically the straight through the entire stage. That's to build, let's see, not sure what's happening. Oh yeah, I think the motorized faders are broken on this console actually. This is why I freaking hate multi-page show files. I was on the wrong show file and it fucks up my right, so stuff like this basically, and I use the straight selection for that. I could use Bitmap, and I would probably change to Bitmap for this kind of stuff instead of selections, but there's some other stuff in the show file that requires straight selection anyways, so I kinda use that as double duty, and this works on all the fixture types. So yeah, fun stuff. Yeah, the faders are a bit broken on this console. Cool, so been streaming for 2 hours, but the first pretty much 1 hour and a half was just unlisted because I wasn't sure it was a stable stream, but now we are pretty stable, I think. If nobody has gotten any bufferings or issues, it should be pretty good to go for this weekend or something. Yeah, cool. So the music playlist is pretty much copyright-free. I think I searched YouTube for 10-hour copyright-free music or something. So the playlist is basically a YouTube video that's 10 hours long for for copyright-free music. So, and I hope it's actually copyrighted if I were to upload segments of this live stream as a video, or it will be claimed. So I hope. We'll see. But yeah, so this weekend when I'm probably gonna do a live stream, I would build up this page with stuff. So I will probably implement some Resolume stuff. I want to be able to implement Resolume via ArtNet. I kinda have a thing to do that, but it's not really great, so I'm gonna rebuild that, and I'm probably gonna do something with the laser as well. I normally often get a Pangolin FB4 that I have patched in, and the FB4 basically has a library of laser cues, and I control the intensity and dimmer of each laser fixture. So I will probably have those here as well, and I will probably do some bitmapping stuff. So I will figure out some cool stuff to do with the bitmapper, because I haven't fully integrated bitmapping yet on this showfile. So that's probably what I'm gonna do this weekend if I were to do a live stream, and also an in-depth walkthrough on the entire showfile. I will probably do an actual video out of that to upload separately to YouTube. So that's my plan right now. This is not a real rig I'm going to work on. Normally they are way more creative than that. But this is probably what you can expect if you were to do it's a very basic but very common way of fixtures interacting with each other. So you got this shape of being inverted. So on each truss the fixture types are inverted. So you can see here that the beams are not in a straight line. The washes are, but not the beams and spots. They actually are inverted to each other to create more depth in the design. And yeah, so normally festival stages and stuff will have this kind of pattern, and it looks very good. Like if you do a chase with example, well, not that chase, but an odd even chase, you will see this kind of a triangle look with just odd even chases. So yeah, basically that's what a normal festival rig would look like, and often 3 LX trusses in the flown rig is pretty common. And then I have a floor package with wipers, and that's very common too, to have some kind of floor package. And strobes I use as a LED deco as well. This is the aura effect of the atomic LED, and the washes are in a straight line, so I can do some fun bitmap stuff and stuff to see how that looks when the fixtures are in a straight line. So this is basically a rig I just made quickly for pre-programming. Basically, it's what you would expect from a normal festival stage. And so far it's been working good. Also the side light trusses, you can see kind of on the stage I have some a drummer and a keyboard and stuff too. And that's kind of to create some default positions for as well. The visualizer I use is Capture. It's not even the latest Capture version. It's 2019, and I'm very happy with it. Currently it's on super low quality because it's on the same computer I use for the live stream, so to not cause any problems, I rather have a very fluent, very responsive 3D visualizer than having great render quality when I do live programming. If I were to actually do like a promo stuff where I record the entire thing, I would just you can actually create a recording in Capture that is full quality, and it would actually render that in full quality, even if your computer doesn't allow a real-time full quality playback. So that's pretty cool. And also I think Capture is a great middle ground between visualization and reporting. The reporting is pretty good actually. You wouldn't use it to plot out rigging points and stuff. You can, but it's not very. I mean, Vectorworks and VisiWig is way more appropriate for that kind of reporting. But for this type of size of small stage, it's very, very powerful, and the reporting is super easy and good. And I'm just very fast at creating. This stage I probably made in I think I made it in like 1 hour, I think. So yeah, it's I'm really happy with it. So yeah, Capture I can recommend. It's relatively cheap too. You can get started for one universe. I think it's 400 or 500 euros, so it's decently affordable. And you can't save multiple universes of DMX live, but if you have the energy to actually repatch every time you start application, you can run a festival stage in this size with 6 universes of a basic license. The only thing is you can't save it in the project, the extra patch of universes. So you can actually, maybe I will upload this Capture stage for you to play with. I guess I could do that. I've actually been thinking about creating a Patreon, not necessarily for the money. I guess it helps, but I'm hopelessly going to buy camera gear and toys anyways. But I guess it kind of helps knowing that you get some kind of income of doing YouTube videos and stuff. But mostly I would probably create a Patreon to upload not my touring show file, but similar show files and maybe stuff I'm working on. Maybe I always record the whole set of gigs I do, like the Indonesia, Jakarta warehouse and stuff. I have full set recording of that show, and that would be a great thing to share on Patreon, as well as some show files and some Capture stage designs and stuff. Like, this is really basic. This is nothing creative at all, but it's very common in the terms of festival rigs and stuff. And yeah, L8. I've heard some good things about L8 too, or Light Converse. I actually did use Light Converse like years ago, like 9 years ago or something. I play a little bit with Light Converse, and it's the visualization. And the thing I hate about Capture is that fixtures are not simulated very good. Like, the 3D model of the fixtures are pretty bad. But L8 and its visualization and rendering is really good actually. So yeah, L8 seems very good. I would actually be tempting to. Do you get 4 universes for 180 euro? Do you get LED wall integration as well? I would probably buy that in a heartbeat, because it's a very powerful software. The reporting isn't good, I've heard. Maybe they've updated that. But if you're just going to visualize and bring your stage ideas to life, yeah, sure. L8 seems very cool. I have no experience in Vectorworks. In other, I think I have it on this computer actually. No, I don't. I'm probably going to play a little with it because it's such a, as far as I know, it's mostly used for plotting rigging points and large stuff. Normally I don't design rigs or stuff, and when I do, I use Capture and VisiWig. So, but yeah, I will probably at some point look at Vectorworks, just because it's very standard. Yeah, depends too. I've heard some good things about. I have a buddy of mine that has used it, and it seems very cool. But I'm not sure how the reporting is in Depends 2. The render engine is really good, but I'm not sure how the reporting side looks. And also, I haven't updated, so I can't show you, but in the latest capture release, the 2021, the reflective planes are actually super cool. Like, it improves your designs in capture dramatically. So I really like the capture reflective planes. Yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for. Depends 2 is, I guess, more of a professional tool for rendering very extreme architectural event stuff, like high-end. So you get what you pay for sure. Right, so we're about, can you apply for this type of a job? Because you don't know the types of companies that hire. Please, could you suggest places and companies? So the thing is, and I always say this, and people are asking me all the time, so I can probably say what I think about it. If you're gonna start in this industry, I think, of course, education is very, like going to a college or a university. It could be good in some terms, but I think the only way to actually get into this industry for real is by real life experience. I have no education at all in this line of work. I'm actually educated in networking and Cisco, CCNO. And so I have no education actually at all in lighting design or anything. I'm completely self-taught, and it's basically your network connections in the industry that counts, and that's basically it. So start somewhere, pushing cases at events, or finding a company that doesn't hire you. They don't want to pay you salary if you haven't shown that you're deserving of it. So start out working for free, work for a church or for a company, just helping them out, and from there just build yourself up. If you want to focus on audio, if you want to focus on lighting, just treat the people that have years of experience in this industry with respect, and you will be up there in no time. And of course, being willing to learn for yourself stuff, like searching for YouTube videos. There's a ton of stuff, like Christian Jackson, everyone knows about him. He does some good tutorials on everything you need to know. And I wish I had that when I started. Jeez, I made so many mistakes in this industry, and I wish I had everything that he said when I was starting out in the industry. So yeah, that's for sure the main thing. Treat people with experience with respect and learn from them, and you will be up there in no time. Okay, is the music too loud, or is it just, should I just cut the background music? Yeah, exactly. To get a job, you need experience, and to get experience, you need a job. Well, yeah, you can get experience working for free with churches and organizations, and yes, actually going to a shop and just saying, hey, could I like hang here, watch you guys do your stuff, and maybe learn from you for free? I guess most shops and lighting companies or rental companies would love to have someone just helping out. And if you're really like honest about it, like saying, I'm really interested in what you're doing here. I will of course be here for free, and I don't expect anything from you. I just want to learn, and honestly, that's kind of a payment for your time. You being able to learn from them is a form of salary, even though it doesn't pay your bills, and hopefully when you get started maybe you're living at home and doesn't have any amount of bills, but actually you can work for free for a while and getting paid in experience, basically. Like if you have a part-time job and you work on days, weekdays, and you're working with a company that does a lot of events in the weekend, for sure you can just ask if you can help them on the weekend and follow along and see what they're doing. Cool. Yeah, so I don't recommend getting hired the first thing, because then they expect something from you, and if they expect something from you, you have a larger chance of actually messing up and breaking that bridge with that company. So I would suggest that don't really fake it until you make it. Don't say you can do stuff if you can't, because that's probably the worst thing you can do in this industry. It's saying you can do stuff that you can't. And it's only natural thing. Everyone has seen this kind of a curve where when you're new with something, you think you're the greatest, and then it slightly goes down with experience. And at some point you are basically, well, I don't know anything, but you actually do. You have a lot of experience, and then it goes up again with the confidence. But yeah, so it's normal to, when you're first starting, have really high competence like self-thought. You think you can do a lot. Just, it's great, but don't say you can do stuff that you can't, because if they expect that you can do it, you have a larger chance of fucking up, basically. So just be honest with yourself and those who are hiring you, what your level is at. And of course you need to go somewhere, and you can take small steps, like maybe not do a festival rig show at once. Just start small and go bigger and prove yourself to that company. So just start out helping free, show what you got, and you shouldn't be taken advantage of course, but you need to know where to get paid in experience and where you to get paid in actual salary. Because if you get hired and they expect you to be at a certain level, and if you can't live up to that, then they will probably not work with you. So but yeah, so with that, we are 2.5 hours on this test stream. I thank everyone who turned in the past hour when I made the stream public. This is the first test stream I'm making to see if everything works, and apparently it's somewhat stable this time. And I will maybe take a few more questions, and then we'll probably stop the stream. But I will probably make a live stream this weekend, and if you have any subjects you want me to go get deeper in, find me on Discord with my same username, VolumLux, and I will probably need to change that username soon. Right, so how much did my IT background help me in troubleshooting learning? So it's a very good background to have. I was both educated in networking and Cisco, CCNA, and also in electricity basics. So it has helped me a fair bit. Apparently not good enough. I'm not good enough educated to get a stream working correctly, if that's a joke. But yeah, it's helped me a lot. The signal flow is really important to understand how networking works. And yeah, sure, that's education. If you need to take any education, I think it's a pretty good idea to go with something with your IT. Programming is pretty good to have as a base. And you can also fall back on that education if event industry isn't really working out for you. In these times with Corona going on and everything is cancelled, I'm actually picking up web development a lot more. Before I went to the event industry, I was actually a web developer, both back-end and front-end. So I'm currently spinning that up again to make some money, basically, for this time being. So programming is something that I recommend getting educated in if you need to choose an education. And you can't choose anything with the entertainment industry. So that's a good background to have. So I'm 23 years old and I'm based in Sweden. I haven't gotten myself into Lua programming yet. I mean, I'm sure I will be able to do it because I know programming and I know the language and C# and stuff and kind of how it works. So I'm sure I would probably be able to learn that pretty fast. But honestly, my strategy, I think, with lighting at this point is less is more, simple, stupid. I've seen show files that goes a little bit too crazy with macros and stuff, and I kind of feel more comfortable with doing the show file like I've always been doing, pretty simple and with simple stuff. That's because MA2 is so powerful, like without any Lua plugins, and I haven't really felt any need for Lua plugins. And I don't download any plugins at all. I write small macros here and there to save time, like updating all the effects. That's a macro. You need to do that because you can't go into each and every effect and update the selection. But I mean, I'm not really, I don't really like super complicated things, because I think you can do most of the stuff you need directly in MA. But so yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will probably not publish this stream. I will probably publish the stream I'm going to make this weekend instead, and I will take it a little bit more seriously. This is more kind of a test stream, and please give me some feedback on how you like the visual and the audio and stuff, if it's working good. Stuff like the size of the 3D vis on the screen, and the placement of the camera could be improved, but I don't really feel like building some kind of overhead rig at the moment, and I'm sitting on my couch in my apartment and I have a wall behind me, so I can't really place the camera there either. But I will try to improve and will probably make a more serious stream this Saturday or something. Probably not tomorrow, but probably Saturday I'll make something cool. So yeah, please find me on Volume Looks at Discord and just send me a message if you have anything you want me to bring up on the official stream this Saturday, I guess. So cool. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna end this stream now. You can stick around in the chat if you want to chat. But I'm probably gonna stop the stream now. So cool. Have a good one.